All very welcome to this Environmental Services Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 5th of February 2025 here in the Town Hall. There is some councillors in the chamber, and we also are joined by Councillor Robinson, Councillor Brough, Councillor Debbie Coyle, Councillor McGrath and Councillor McClory on WebEx. Okay, so first item on the agenda is any apologies. I have an apology for Councillor Stephen Donnelly. Councillor Maguire.
Apologies for Councillor McArdle and Councillor McCulloch.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else indicating, so moving on.
Chair.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Robinson, go on ahead.
Councillor Hawks.
Okay.
Councillor Ellis coming on WebEx.
No problem. Thank you. Item 2 is to sign minutes and confidential minutes of previous meeting held on the 15th of January 2025. We done that before we started the meeting. Item 3, any declarations of interest? Okay, nobody indicating. Moving on for reports for decision. Environment and Place Director Report 4.1 to consider report on estate matters paper A, and that's you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Members, just a couple of items, one for decision and a number of items to note for information. First, for decision is a retrospective approval for the use of council property at the Round O on Enniskillen on the 2nd of February. It was from a motorcycle club requested permission to use the Round O as an assembly point for a Lap of the Loch charity event, and the event took place successfully. So really just a retrospective approval for that. And then to note for information, a request from Earl, Carrickmore, Hurling and Camogie Club, who have a lease of council lands, a 99-year lease of council lands in Carrickmore, and again just advised that they were applying for grant aid under the Shared Island Sports Club scheme for the installation of EV chargers at the site, and requested landlord approval from the council. So that confirmation was provided to the club as it wouldn't have been reasonably withheld. And then a number of documents that were to be sealed by the council as set out in paragraph 3.2. So members' recommendation that council approves retrospectively the use of council property at the Round O by Motorcycle Club on 2nd of February, and that council notes the request from Earl, Carrickmore, Hurling and Camogie Club for to submit a funding application, and then the sealing of documents is set out in 9.2.3.
Thank you, John. Again, just to advise, we're joined also now by Councillor Elliott on WebEx. Councillor Maguire up first.
Carly, just happy enough to propose the recommendations, Chair. Just one point for information on 9.1. Several councillors, as John, you're aware, were contacted by the Motorcycle Club. Have they been made aware of the proper procedures now going forward for future events?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Councillor McGuire, our property team contacted the club on foot of the representations that were made to members, and that resulted then in the retrospective approval request.
Thank you for that. Councillor Fitzgerald on WebEx, please.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. In and out, just the Wi-Fi is not that great here, so that's why I have the camera keeps coming on and off. Yeah, I want to second the recommendations, and for those two groupings to go forward, yeah, for the use of the council land or whatever. So yeah, happy enough.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, we've had that proposed by Councillor Maguire, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald, and we're all in agreement. Okay, thank you. Moving on now to item 4.2 to consider report on review of asset acquisition and disposal policy, paper B. That's you again, John.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the Council's asset acquisition and disposal policy. It was originally developed in 2022, previously reviewed in 2022, and had been originally drafted in 2018. So the Council's standard practice is that we review all of our policies on a rolling basis every 3 years. So really this is coming forward for that 3-yearly review cycle. It's particularly timely given, I suppose, the focus that we've had on our estate strategy over the course of the last number of years in particular. The strategy, as members will be aware, is underpinned by 3 core themes and a number of high-level actions, and those are about reducing the impact of the estate on the environment, effective estate and asset management, and then innovation and a customer focus. In January last year, we brought forward a high-level review of the estate strategy, and at that time, we noted a number of particular financial and environmental challenges facing the council in the short to medium term, and in particular those related to the importance of streamlining the asset portfolio to ensure that it's aligned to current and emerging priorities for the council, making better use of data and insights to drive asset efficiency, and investigating opportunities to maximise and or generate long-term sustainable income from the council's asset portfolio. As part of the current review process of the asset acquisition and disposal policy, then we've also looked at other guidance that exists within the public sector, and in particular the Audit Office and Strategic Investment Board publication from October 2021, and then we've also undertaken some benchmarking with other local government and public bodies within Northern Ireland. And I suppose a key change that's been proposed then within this updated policy is the introduction of what we refer to in the paper as a challenge process, just to ensure that on a regular basis, on an annual basis, that our asset portfolio is reviewed. Council would have done that previously through the annual property report, but this formalises that process into a challenge process, and that's something that the NIAO certainly would have recommended in the October 2021 publication. There's a number of other changes within the policy that are set out in paragraph 2.8. So we've included some additional detail on the acquisition and disposal process. We've introduced definitions for surplus and underperforming assets. We've included a number of flowcharts for the disposal of built assets on retained land, and included details on leases, licence and short tenancies, in particular their financial treatment within our accounts. And then as I said, the final point there, just to really aid the understanding and the readability of the policy, introduced a number of procedural flowcharts. We've also, as part of that policy review, then undertaken an updated Section 75 screening and rural needs impact assessment of the policy, and copies of both of those documents are included at Appendix 2 and Appendix 3 respectively. So members, Appendix 1, I should have said at the outset, that has a copy of the revised draft policy with all of the track changes set out. So members, it's recommended that approve the adoption of the revised asset acquisition and disposal policy January 2025 as attached at Appendix 1.
Thank you for that, John. Okay, just before, I know Councillor Fitzgerald's having issues with her broadband, hence why her camera's off. Could the rest of the councillors on WebEx that haven't got their cameras on, please put them on just before we move forward, please. Thank you. Okay, nobody indicating. Could I get a proposer and seconder for that recommendation? Yeah, Councillor Maguire.
Margaret Kerry, happy enough to propose, but just I noticed one difference there, that it be presented to Environmental Services stroke relevant committee. Is that simply for a speed of processing, or it can therefore be brought to any committee of the council? Just
Chair, it's I think we were updating the language. There were a number of places where the previous policy was maybe referring to posts that had changed as maybe as part of the co-form process, and also was restricting it to environmental services, and simply felt that including that language of the relevant committee just gives more flexibility within the operation. I think the intention when it's the states matters, that is the purview of the Environmental Services Committee. So the intention would be that they would be coming back to Environmental Services, but it just gives us that flexibility.
Thanks for that clarification, Chair. Happy enough to recommend.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Crawford.
You, Chair, I'm happy to second the recommendations.
Thank you. Nobody else indicating. That's been proposed by Councillor Maguire, seconded by Councillor Crawford, and we're all agreed. Thank you. Now moving on to item 4.3, to consider report on council off-street parking provision, paper C. That's you again, John.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to update members on a proposed change to tariff on 3 council off-street car parks, one of which is in Enniskillen, New Brighton Terrace, and 2 in, sorry, 1 is in Omagh, New Brighton Terrace, and 2 in Enniskillen at Keelian South and Shore Road West. The paper sets out some of the background issues in terms of when off-street car parks transferred to the council as part of the review of public administration in 2015, and some background statistics in terms of the number of off-street car parks that the council operates. So we have 39 off-street car parks across the district, 13 of which are pay and display, and they're located within Omagh and Enniskillen towns. The pay and display car parks do generate significant funds to support the delivery of other council priorities, projects and services. Across the 13 pay and display car parks, there's just under 1,300 spaces within that, those 13 car parks. There are fleet tariffs specified within legislation. They're referred to as TS4, which would have been 40 pence for 3 hours, TL4, 40 pence per hour, and TL5, which was 50 pence per hour. Those rates have been in effect since 2015, since the councils changed, or since the responsibility transferred to the councils, and there is discussions ongoing with DFI about that legislation moving across to councils to give more autonomy in that regard. 81% of the council's pay and display car parking spaces are currently provided at the TL4 and TL5 tariff. We've noted within the report that there was a significant amount of work done in 2018 for the council to develop an off-street car parking strategy, and there was extensive consultation with stakeholders at that time. The purpose of the strategy was about addressing the overall requirement for car parking within the district in terms of availability, accessibility and convenience for residents and visitors. The strategy had a nominal planning horizon through to 2023. Obviously, we had COVID for 2 years in the midst of that period, and certainly in 2024 we were doing a desktop review of the strategy and identified that one of the actions had remained unimplemented, or hadn't been implemented as was intended in 2020, and that related to the regularisation of the TS4 tariff, which only applies on 3 car parks as set out in the paper at New Brighton Terrace, Keelian South and Shore Road West. The strategy had recommended that TS4 tariff should be upgraded to the TL4 tariff at that time, but as just with COVID in 2020, 2021, and that change wasn't implemented. So as part of our desktop review, we identified that before we would move into the development of a new plan for car parking across the entirety of the council estate, that this recommendation is being brought forward to regularise the recommendation from the previous strategy. I suppose based on the current occupancy levels within those 3 car parks, the increase will yield additional income as anticipated, as you'd expect, from a 40p for 3 hours to 40 pence per hour, that it will yield additional income for the council to help support the delivery of other priorities and projects across the district over the course of the next financial year. I suppose members, but probably just worth noting as well is that that TS4 tariff is the cheapest tariff available anywhere in Northern Ireland. When we've benchmarked against parking rates in other neighbouring council areas, without even going over to east of the ban, but in all of our neighbouring council areas, the 40 pence per hour is the cheapest that you will get anywhere else. And when we go to some of our near neighbours, what we're looking at would be tariffs of between 70 and 80 pence per hour. The top tariff in the premium spots in Omagh and Enniskillen would be 50 pence per hour. So members, it's recommended that the council approves the implementation of the TL4 tariff from the 1st of April 2025 at New Brighton Terrace, Omagh, Keelian South and Shore Road West.
Thank you, John. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, just going to have a look at this in some more detail, if that's okay, John. You've given a very good explanation of the breakdown of it there. So this is the TS4 tariff, 40p per 3 hours, going to 40p per hour in the 3 car parks. I suppose the first question is, and you've explained how that TS4 is nearly like a discount rate that doesn't really apply anywhere else. What was the rationale in the report that was done previously for that TS4 tariff being sort of obsolete? What was the reasoning for moving away from that tariff? If you could sort of explain that, please, maybe. And then has there been any sort of looking into economic impact on businesses, for example? Because I know some of the businesses have been a wee bit nervous about this. Maybe if you could give a wee bit of an update on that, please, as well. And is there any indication at this stage about, one, a timeline for these changes? Is there going to be any run-in time to give people a chance to get used to them? And what about, so if you can answer those 3 questions, and what about, and a 4th question, please, if you can, the revenue to be gained from these changes, please, as well. Thank you.
Chair, if you don't mind, I'll maybe just reference the last point first about the revenue, because the revenue would relate directly to the business of the council. If members were content, I would address that in confidential business. So I don't want to get to the end and you think that I haven't addressed the point, just to explain why I maybe won't speak specifically about that at this point, but happy to come back to it in confidential business if that's required. In terms of the rationale for the revised tariff, in 2018, when the strategy was being developed, there was also an additional tariff that had been there from the legacy DOE days when the car parks were managed by DOE, as it was at that point in time, and that would have been a tariff that was £1 for 5 hours, as well as in some car parks the 40p for 3 hours. The rationale back in 2018 was that it was, given the number of pay and display car parks, the tariffs were unnecessarily complicated. You had the co-location of off-street car parks that in some instances were separated simply by a raised curb, where if you parked in car park A, you were paying 40 pence per hour, and in the car park adjacent to it, you could have been paying 40 pence for 3 hours, and when you went across the road, there was a free car park. So in 2018, certainly there was a determination on the part of the council that we would retain free car parking provision within both Omagh and Enniskillen, and that's something that's probably it is worth highlighting, that across the 2,400 car parking spaces that the council provides in Omagh and Enniskillen, approximately half of those remain free, and so they're completely free all the time. And what we're looking at is about 10% that are sitting on this TS4 tariff. There are obviously other car parking provisions, pay and display and private ownership. Some of them are related to businesses, shopping centres across both towns, and generally the tariffs in those car parks is higher than the 40 pence per hour tariff that you would pay in the TL4 within Omagh and Enniskillen. Going back to your query, so the rationale was about simplifying and regularising the tariffs for visitors and for residents, but also to avoid, and again, this would have been feedback, so there would have been quite a lot of consultation in 2018 whenever the strategy was being developed with businesses. There would have been concerns that the overly cheap long-term parking meant that people would come early in the morning and were blocking parking bays, so it didn't support the turnover and the churn of visitors and shoppers into the two main towns who were coming in to the shops, and they found it then difficult. So an hourly tariff does enable those people who come in, they're coming in for an hour to do the shop, to do a couple of messages, whatever it is, and they're away again. Or certainly, anecdotally, that would be the sense that we get from a lot of those car parks, that there's people that are coming in to the town, particularly residents, with a purpose. The longer term stays tend to be maybe the visitors who are coming in for the day, and once the car is parked up for the day and on those cheaper tariffs, there's very little. Well, that then creates congestion in terms of visitors later in the morning or into the afternoon time being able to park close to the main commercial centres. So it said the rationale was based on feedback that was coming from stakeholders in 2018. I know certainly we have had representations, and I know members will be aware of this, from Enniskillen Bid and from Omagh Chamber of Commerce, just articulating some of the concerns that the member has referred to. And one of those concerns had been that we were in a different paradigm in 2025 compared to 2018. I suppose what I would say is that the council did quite a lot of work in 2022 and into 2023 around place shaping plans for Omagh and Enniskillen. And both of those documents included a lot of engagement with stakeholders, including businesses, and those same issues about accessibility, about permeability into the two main commercial centres in Enniskillen were articulated again by those stakeholders as recently as 2023. So I think the concerns that were driving the rationalisation, harmonisation of the tariffs in 2018 was reaffirmed in 2023, and the introduction at this particular point in time is to close off on that old strategy, as I think we've referenced in the paper, that we are then looking to the next 5 years, 2025 through to 2030, and certainly the intention would be that we bring forward then a more substantive piece of work, certainly engagement with members later this year, and engagement with other stakeholders, including the likes of those businesses, the Enniskillen Bid, Omagh Chamber of Commerce, to help inform the development of that new action plan, and that would then be subject to a full public consultation later in the year. We anticipate that will be probably end of the summer, into the autumn time at that stage. And then I suppose just finally, actually, as your question about the timeline for familiarisation. Actually, one of the things that we've been particularly mindful of is we have come through a change period over the course of the last 12 months with the transition of the management and enforcement of off-street car parking coming directly through the council. I think that's, we've found that's been, I know that we've had feedback on that in April of last year. Any of those initial concerns that people had expressed have very much subsided now. Certainly over the course of the first 10 months of this financial year, we've seen a decrease in the number of PCNs that have been issued. I think it's about 26% down in terms of the number of PCNs, which would suggest that as people have become more familiar with the operation of the cashless and also the continued availability of cash parking, that the compliance across the off-street estate has increased. So again, we would expect that have a similar program of engagement around making sure that people are familiar with what the appropriate tariff is, and the simplification of, let's say, 40 pence per hour, 50 pence per hour will reduce the risk of, and we know that people have incurred PCNs previously of purchasing a ticket in one car park and parking in an adjacent car park, and the attendants, understandably, are enforcing the rules, and a PCN will have been issued. So, again, the benefit this year has been that under the new system, so we have we've been able to see Morrison exercise flexibility in terms of overturning and rescinding some of those PCNs. I think, again, about 26% that have been rescinded over that period of time. So, taking a very flexible view around our management and enforcement.
Thanks, John. Happy enough, Dermot? Mr. Crawford?
Thank you, Chair. I understand the council's rationale behind this, but I suppose my point is raising parking charges can reduce customer footfall, impact sales for local businesses, push shoppers to out-of-town shopping centres, or indeed online shopping, and increase the cost to employees. This is to perhaps may lead to a decline in town centre trade. This is my concern, Chair, at this stage, with regards to recommendations.
Okay. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted to come in again and continue on with a couple of points. So I think I broadly agree that more regularization of car parking charges, and instead of having all these different rates and different lengths of times, that is confusing. And I think streamlining that to a singular or, to have 1 hour in each car park, that seems sensible to me. But maybe there's further work to be done then in the future strategy that we can have an even more regular system, but that's, I suppose, something that we will look at in the future. But communication is really important with this. I think people can accept small changes like this and can accept the sense of them whenever there's a really good communication between the council and the businesses and the shoppers and different things like that. So I think we need to get that right. We need to make sure people have enough time to make any changes in their schedules or changes to get it adjusted to them. So that's very, very important. I think we need to make sure that communication is right. But what about the concerns raised about footfall in the town centres? So you've given us an analysis there that having these different rates and longer term stay car parks keeps people out of the town, actually, because there's people blocking the car parking spaces, and that makes it harder for people to get parked in the town. So is that something that the council is looking at? Or are you happy enough that we're going to see actually more people having access to the town than at the minute, and therefore any sort of fear that there might be economic impacts on businesses is not really based in anything real? Can you give us an update on that, maybe just? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Brown. In terms of, I suppose, the reassurance, I'd go back to probably the profile of our car parking spaces. So as I said, we have 13 pay and display car parking spaces. There's a total, the council provides a total of 25 off-street car parks within Omagh and Enniskillen. So this is, I'm only talking about council, and there's additional private provision, and the numbers that I'll talk about here are only those car parks that fall within the off-street car parking order. So there's additional further free car parking provision in a number of other council locations. So Omagh Leisure Centre down at Fermanagh Lakeland Forum in front of the castle, out at the Round O. All of those analyses, when the place shaping plans looked at it, that all of that car parking in both Omagh and Enniskillen is within 10 minutes walk. So the walkability and the permeability of Omagh and Enniskillen in comparison with many other provincial towns is something that we're rightly proud of. I know and particularly when we're in Enniskillen here tonight, and we talk about the identity of Enniskillen as the island town, and looking at how traffic flows are managed in and around the island, and Omagh has similar challenges as well in terms of car parking and in terms of vehicle flows. So a good turnover of cars throughout the course of the day discourages or reduces the risk that you get that build-up congestion. I know that we see in both Omagh and Enniskillen, particularly at certain times late in the day, whenever those long-term parkers are leaving at the same time maybe as businesses, shops are closing as well. If people have been leaving on an hourly basis and you get that churn, I don't have an analysis on this, but certainly from the reading we've done around this, I think it would suggest a belief that it will contribute to traffic flows or improve traffic flows. Going back to the piece about the free spaces, of it's 46% of the total off-street car parking provision within Omagh and Enniskillen remains free across the council estate. So I think any concerns that maybe some people might have that this in some way there will be a penalty to office workers, to shop workers in either Omagh or Enniskillen town centre. We're already providing almost 1,100 free car parking spaces across both towns, as many of those businesses will provide car parking for some of their staff as well, depending on the location and the nature of the business. I think it's unlikely that the change of a tariff from 40 pence per hour, or from 40 pence for 3 hours to 40 pence per hour will have a particular impact in discouraging people coming in to do shopping in the town. Again, looking at the occupancy rates in the free car parks in question, many of those occupancy rates vary from anything like 56% through to somewhere like Keighley and South, which is sitting at 99%. That many of the people who are coming into those car parks are probably only coming in and staying for an hour as it is, so they're already paying 40 pence, and there will be no disadvantage to them in that regard. They will still just pay 40 pence for the 1 hour that they come in to do their shopping, to do their messages, to have a cup of coffee.
Thanks, John. Councillor Coyle on WebEx.
Thanks, Chair, and I've got an issue with my connection at the minute. I'm not sure if Dermot proposed the recommendations.
No, he didn't.
If he didn't, oh, then I will, because I think it's important. And I park my car in the town every day, and I pay my parking fees. I go to one of the one up a little bit. I pay 50p an hour because I park at the bottom market. But I've used that cheaper one plenty of times as well if I've been going around the town. But it's not very often, as John said, it's not very often you actually spend 3 hours anyway. You'd only be, getting what you get in and get back in the car. So I don't really think it's going to have an impact on businesses, to be fair. And we've got to remember as well that once 6 o'clock comes, or maybe 6:30 now, John can put me right on that, the car parking is free. So it's not going to affect any kind of late night businesses or late openings or, the nighttime economy where people are actually coming out to spend 2, 3, 4 hours out and can actually park their car free overnight until 8 o'clock next morning, if they need to, if they're taking a wee drink or something. So, over 1,000 free spaces. And it's just 40p. It just means that you can't stay there for, 3 hours. And I just don't think it will have a negative impact on business at all. So I'm happy to propose, Chair. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Coyle. Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, I can't see it, to be honest, having an impact on businesses, but it will have an impact, I do believe, on staff. So, as I say, especially the car park in Enniskillen, I would be well aware of. And as I say, I've had a few people on to me that actually parks in that car park, and it is mostly staff for businesses and offices that are parking there, and that I'm aware of. And you would see if you were about that area in the evening, the amount of people that comes out of it, sort of thing. So it is well used, especially the one in Enniskillen. So as I say, it's, in my opinion, it'll have no effect on business, but it will have an effect on staff, and that's my only concern with this. So I would have been actually going against the recommendation. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose the business sector, they've had a tough time there with the recent budget. National insurance, every penny counts. And I just feel it's bad timing. Definitely, I can only speak for Oma, but I know New Brighton Terrace, and I just feel that, it's not that big, and will it make a big difference? Probably would. Car parking is a big issue around Oma, and I just feel at this time that I can't really support this, so I'm going to go against the recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Brown, if you could be brief.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just gonna coming into thanks, John, for the clarification and just to second the proposal.
Okay. Okay, so it's been proposed by Councillor Coyle and seconded by Councillor Brown. And there is a few dissenting. Councillor McGrath and Councillor Elliott. Is everybody else happy enough with the proposal? Okay, so then dissent.
I'll dissent there as well, please.
Okay, Councillor McGrath. Okay. And Councillor Crawford. Okay. Okay, that's fine, that's carried, so we'll just move on to the next item. Okay, item 5, Community and Wellbeing Director Report 5.1 to consider report on street naming and numbering due language paper D. And can I just take that we've all read the report, and could you get a proposer and seconder for the report?
Anne-Marie here.
Yeah, Councillor Anne-Marie and Councillor Brown, and of course I will note the dissent from the members of the DUP and UUP. Okay, thank you. Now, item 6, Environment and Place Director Report to note report of Director Environment and Place, paper E. And I take it everybody's read this as well. Unless there's any comment, could you get a proposer and seconder, please? Anybody?
I'm happy to propose.
Yeah, Councillor Fitzgerald and Councillor Brown. And we're all agreed? Thank you. Item 7, Community and Wellbeing Director Report 7.1 to note report on building control and licensing 1st October 2024 to 31st of December 2024, paper F. And again, I take it we've all read it. If there is any queries, we'll just move on to proposer and seconder. Proposed by Councillor Feely, second by Councillor Elliott on WebEx. We're all agreed? Thank you. Item 8, correspondence. 8.1 to note correspondence dated 20th of January 2025 from the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero regarding a just transition to net zero. See you, John.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, so this is a response to correspondence that had issued after our November committee meeting regarding just transition, in particular support coming from UK government. And this is obviously a response coming from the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. And within the response, Kerry McCarthy MP has noted that national government, in her words, provides support to local areas to deliver net zero, and this includes funding to a number of programmes. She references Greater Manchester, West Midlands, York and North Yorkshire combined authority. Doesn't reference any particular examples within Northern Ireland, but does note earlier that the policy area is mainly devolved, and that devolved administrations have their own net zero support schemes. So members, really correspondence just to the note at this point.
Thank you, John. Yeah, proposer and seconder note, Councillor Maguire. Anybody else? Councillor Brown. Councillor Coyle, are you looking to come in on that issue, or is that hand up from previous? Debbie?
Maybe just
It must be from previous. Okay, item 8.2.
Sorry, it's from previous. Sorry.
Okay, no bother, thank you. Item 2 to note the following items of correspondence from the Department of Infrastructure, and there's 2 items there, John.
Yeah, so Chair, the first of these is in response to a proposal at the council meeting in December regarding the installation of, or the reinstatement, I should say, of county boundary signage, and the Department for Infrastructure have written back to confirm that DFI don't provide county boundary signage.
Yeah, thank you, John. Councillor McClary? You're on mute there, John.
Sorry, somebody sent me a bad joke there earlier, and I wasn't on mute, and I might have came across the microphone. I note the correspondence, please, Chair. Propose to note the correspondence. I see that they're happy to work with us, but it's rather disappointing that they're not going to provide funding for the signage. As somebody involved in genealogy and people coming back, I think it's very important that we have our county lines shown for people travelling. I mean, it's quite difficult around Erbenstein. You can cross in and out of Tyrone a couple of times, and if you're searching for county boundaries and town lands and stuff, it makes it very difficult when you're looking. If you have a map, the town lands tend to come in maps of counties. That's the way they're broken down, and for visitors it's very difficult. So I'm wondering, Chair, would it be acceptable if we could see if we could get funding for at least defining the county boundaries for Fermanagh and Tyrone through any sort of tourist bodies or anything like that there, or even the shared fund to do with genealogy? If there's any chance we could do that and then go back to DFI if we had secured funding to see if they would be agreeable to help us put them up.
Do you want to make comment there, John?
Well, no comment, just all to say yes, certainly we can explore opportunities for any funding, whether it's through tourism schemes or any other schemes, heritage or otherwise.
Okay, thank you, John. Councillor Feely?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks for that, John. Yeah, I'll second the note of that, and like John, like John, I would like to see county signs as well. So just good to go down that avenue and see if we get any funding. It's good that they're willing to help us in here. So happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Maguire?
Well, just one question on the back of that. DFI said they didn't put up the county signs. Was it a function of council in the past, or are we sure? So there used to be the normal county boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
If the DFA is washing their hands of it, maybe historically did the council put them up?
You know, John?
I have to plead ignorance on this one. I don't know who put them up in the past. All of it just reading, I was just reading the DFA responses that they don't provide them. That's not to say that a precedent department may have provided them, so DOE or indeed a previous governance structure.
Thanks for that, John. But again, just I think that's a very valid suggestion, Councillor McLaughlin, there to seek funding, because as you know from other members in the chamber, it's important that their County Tyrone identity is still recognised, even though they're happy and content within the Fermanagh and Omagh district. We presume they are. But definitely the sign for the historical county of Tyrone is significant, and likewise Fermanagh. And as John says, it would be a benefit for people seeking genealogy, etc. Thanks for
absolutely. Councillor Robinson on WebEx.
Who took down the county signs? John?
You want to make a comment there, John?
I'm not sure if I picked Councillor Robinson up correctly to say who took them down.
Yes.
Again, sorry, Councillor, I don't have any knowledge as to who would have taken them down. Again, in terms of roadside infrastructure, my understanding is that's the responsibility of DFI in terms of road safety. So if signs were installed illegally at the roadside, it would be DFI who would remove those. So if there's signage that has been removed at some point in the past, again, it may have been DFI in recent years or their precedent department prior to that.
Thank you. Councillor McClary, looking in again.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I understand that. I understood it was the DOE road service that had them up. I know that the old Fermanagh and Councillor Maguire, if Councillor O'Reilly was here, maybe he would be able to share line on. The old Fermanagh Council had the welcome to Fermanagh, naturally to Fermanagh signs up, and those were at the county boundaries. But the rest of them seemed to be a generic form with a sort of a crest for the county and the name on it. I thought it was the DOE that did them, but I can't be totally sure on that. I'm a little bit young maybe to do that. Lying through my teeth.
Chair,
Yeah, go on ahead, Paul.
I think it was for tourism, put them signs up at the start, naturally. I think it was tourist board or funding for them through the tourist board for them.
Okay, that's been noted.
No,
Councillor,
Chair, you allow me to speak. The boundary sign for Mid Ulster, see it's beside the Fermanagh and Oma sign out at Cavanagh there on the A4. And the last time they had that sign up, it was opposite your man in there just at the railway thing is there as you come into Final Town, just the other side of it. It was put in there the last time and then it was taken down again. The council took it down because somebody put the wood and then it was taken down again, and now it's moved away out into our territory. But just wondering if they put up the county sign, you see, the problem with Cavanagh, they say there's too many signs at the junction and not allow any more up there, so.
yeah. Councillor Crawford, do you want to come in there?
Chair, I'm just wondering, could the council ask DFI, for example, just a simple question for clarification, just I know it was perhaps lies with the old DOE system, but is it worth maybe asking a question for clarity exactly? Are there any input in it, or if they don't, maybe they can show some light on this mystery? Thanks, Chair.
Any proposed? Yeah, could you make that a formal proposal, Councillor Crawford? Yep, and Councillor Feely second that. Okay, thank you. And then Councillor McLaury, does his proposal, does that need to be a formal proposal? Looking for fun? Yeah, that's all right then. Yeah. No problem. So that's been proposed and seconded for noting, and that other proposal has been seconded, and we're all agreed. Okay, thank you. On to the next one, John.
Okay, and Chair, next is just correspondence from DFI just advising of their intention to de-restrict a stretch of road at Gardiner's Cross Road in Enniskillen. The stretch road in question has street lighting but doesn't meet the criteria for 30-mile-per-hour zones. So just they've been confirming that they've consulted with the police and just for noting.
Thank you, John. Proposed and seconded note. Councillor Crawford and Councillor Maguire, all agreed? Thank you. Now on item 8.3, to no correspondence dated 22nd of January 2025 from the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs regarding XL Bully exemption certificates. That's over to you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. A response, members, from the DAERA Minister in relation to the XL Bullies exemption certificates, where he states that it has been determined that any benefits that would be introduced as a result of interim certificates would be outweighed by the risk to public safety. And he also highlights that primary legislation would be required in order to introduce the exemption certificates, and that would take a significant amount of time to implement. I suppose I should say, Chair, that as for the rollout of the XL Bully legislation, that we are fully compliant in that all of our XL Bullies that we have registered have actually registered on the system now. So it's not an issue. It's not an issue for us, I suppose, in this district, although we will continue to monitor to see are there others which we don't have on a register at this time. And, you know, if members are aware of any XL Bullies or XL Bully type dogs, to get in contact with ourselves. Sure.
Thank you, John. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think I'm just happy enough to note the correspondence. I don't really have any issues. I think I'm glad to hear that there's no issues with this this exemption certificate. There was a slight concern maybe that some dogs wouldn't have been signed up to this, but I'm glad to hear that they are, so thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Feely.
Yeah, similar to Dermot, happy enough with that, and I'm happy to second, no, because I know it is an issue in other councillors. We've just listened to Ocean FM, then it's been an issue in some of the other counties, so glad that we got that sorted out, John.
Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Also happy that the dogs are registered, and it means that there's no cost to us at this stage. But we, as the director says, we have to monitor and be aware maybe there is some that has maybe slipped the net, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, proposed and second, we're all agreed. Thank you. Okay, there's no other items, John. Okay, item 9, any urgent relevant business, and I wasn't contacted, so there's none of that. Okay, so now item part 2, confidential matters. Could I get a proposal and second to go into committee? Councillor Hayes and Councillor Crawford. Thank you. Okay, that's us back. Could you give a recap, John, please?
Thank you, Chair. While in confidential business, members considered an estates report which related to two catering agreements and the extensions thereon as and a land lease to a community voluntary sporting organisation, and members approved the recommendations set out in the paper.
Thank you, John. Proposer and seconder. Councillor Brown. Anybody else? Councillor Feely. We're all agreed. Thank you. Okay, we'll just backtrack to an item of AOB that would like to raise. Councillor Brown, if you want to come in.
Yeah, thanks again, Chair, and sorry for not bringing this up at the appropriate time earlier. Just it's if we could get a bit of an update from the directors on the situation of the toilets at Brandrum Cemetery. There's been a couple of queries from members of the public regarding the opening hours. Some people maybe feel that it's a wee bit restrictive. That people that are using the cemetery there would need those facilities to be open during sort of normal day working hours. So maybe if you could give a wee update on the current hours and if there's any scope for widening out the hours, please. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to come in there, John?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, Brandrum Cemetery, as all of our cemeteries, there's public access, obviously, into the cemetery, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The toilets, as I understand now, I was just checking to see if I had the information on the website, but I would understand that they would be open from the normal hours when staff come in through the close of play whenever the gates for vehicle access would be closed, and that would be the practice in our other cemeteries. Certainly, I'm happy to take the feedback away and speak to our parks team to look at what those opening hours, and I'll come back to the member just to confirm what the hours are specifically. My understanding is that it's generally 9 o'clock through to 5 o'clock, and that and then specifically if there was a funeral, certainly there would be toilet provision. The toilets would be provided during the time when there's a funeral on board. But happy to discuss it after the meeting with our relevant officers and come back to the member directly.
Happy enough, Dermot, yeah? Okay, that's that dealt with, and that brings all the business to a close, and I'll bring this meeting to a close. Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
No,
Councillor Crawford, go on ahead.
If I can just share with the members just some happy news for a change. That Councillor McLachlan has become a granddad again. So maybe
Very good.
convey our congratulations to everybody.
Yeah, congratulations, Councillor Crawford.
Congratulations.
Councillor McLaury. That's brilliant. Thank you. I think that's ending on a lovely note, so we'll bring the meeting to a close. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.